Hello, the MACKEM CABBIE here. How are you doing on this Thursday evening, the 20th of March, of the Sunderland FC Daily News? And we're going to be talking about Dan Neil and Dennis Cirkin. One of Christian Speakman's many strengths is handling of players' contracts, but two in Dan Neil and Dennis Cirkin have seemingly slipped through the net, apparently. Because it's not often that Sunderland, under the guise of Christian Speakman, lose a key player on a free transfer or face an overly frantic search to sell him to another club. The club is always ready to extend players' contracts as a reward for good performances, even if said players still has years left in his current deal. But in the summer of 2026, Dan Neil and Dennis Cirkin see their Sunderland contracts expire this summer. They'll be in the final years of their contract, and that makes for an unusual and uncomfortable situation for Speakman. And both remain key players for the side, despite both having had spells in and out of form this season. Both players have also had interest from Premier League clubs this season. And speaking to Sunderland AFC, transfer expert has now weighed in on the situation and has confirmed that both players are aware they have outside interest right now. Spurs are among those interested in Cirkin, while Neil has had links with the likes of Liverpool over the past 12 months. And both players seem to want to know what division the club will be playing in next season, and of course that seems to be the key thing for a lot of decisions, where Sunderland will be next season, where players will be as well. Before committing their long-term future at the Stadium of Light, of course, for Dennis Cirkin and Dan Neil. As things stand, the Black Cats sit fourth in the Championship table. Bailey said the situation, it is clearly not ideal. Both players want to know the club situation. I think so do the fans as well, to be honest with you. Both players know they have interest elsewhere too, which obviously can play a part, if nothing else, so they are aware of their market value. So what's Christian Speakman has said about Dan Neil and Dennis Cirkin's contracts? Speaking earlier this season, Speakman discussed Neil and Cirkin's contracts and insisted that both players remain committed to the cause, which is, of course, to go on and secure promotion to the Premier League this season. And a lot of fans say we're a long way off of doing that. The Sunderland chief said, "We've had those conversations with the guys. There is no question over Dennis or Dan's commitment to Sunderland, but I don't think at the minute it's the right moment to be getting into too much conversation with them." For Speakman, though, Cirkin and Neil's contracts are just two things that will need to wait until the summer to be sorted. Sunderland have a number of players with Premier League interest, and that might take precedence come to the summer, as Speakman will have to manage who stays and who goes, and also who comes in to replace those who inevitably leave the club. And of course, Sunderland have certainly hit something of a snag in the Championship, with Regis Lebrie's side slumping to a 3-0 defeat before the international break. The 2024-25 season for Sunderland remains a wholly positive one, but perhaps one or two halves. Sunderland were blistering in the first half of the campaign, but since the turn of the year have suffered their first home league defeat of the season, their first back-to-back defeats, and their heaviest defeat too. Of course, last time out, Coventry City beat Sunderland 3-0 to deal the Black Cats the biggest defeat of the season and of Regis Lebrie's era to date. It was a result and a performance that highlighted the fact that Sunderland are not yet in the playoffs, and they might yet struggle should they make it. The Black Cats remain fourth in the Championship and have a 12-point cushion within the top six. But with 8 games left to play, 24 points in all, there's still time for Sunderland to bottle a playoff spot, and recent form would suggest that is certainly possible. But Krill Louis Dreyfus is not overly concerned about Sunderland's recent form. And Sporting Director Christian Speakman went through the arduous manager's search last year, going for 4 months without a permanent boss at the Stadium of Light before Lebrie was appointed in June, and it's proved a great appointment so far. So despite a dip in form, Louis Dreyfus and those behind the scenes at Sunderland remain impressed with Labrie, undeterred by their recent dip in form. Speaking to Sunderland AFC news expert Graham Bailey explained how the Sunderland officials are feeling right now. He said, when asked if there's any concern among the hierarchy, not overly. They have known it was playoffs for them for a while. It gives them a chance to get things right before they get into the later stages. It's about seeing the positives. Obviously, they will want to rediscover their form in the coming weeks, but they don't see that as a huge issue. So let's see what some of the fans are saying regarding Dennis Cirkin and Dan Neil. Billy says, love how everyone on here says they are not good enough, but there are professional scouts at some of the biggest clubs in England that say they are. Who's right then? Tom says, I don't think neither of them are ready from the Prem, to be honest. They are too inconsistent for my liking, and that's in the Championship. Prem level is just a different class. Chris says they would be sold if we are still in the Championship, unfortunately. We won't let their run their contracts down, says Chris. Steve says players come and players go. They will be a massive loss, but will bring in a decent transfer fee. They will not be the only ones. Hopefully we replace them adequately. Stu says, I believe there will be a mass exodus in the summer if we don't gain promotion. However, these two will be bench warmers at the best, as it's such a big step. Look at Jack Clark. And Anthony says Cirkin is prone to injury and Neil is prone to mistakes. Not saying they are bad players, and both have had decent future, but the Prem is a big step up, and think they would both struggle. Not sure we have any Premier League class players currently. So there we go. That's the Sunderland FC daily news from the MACKEM CABBIE, and enjoy the rest of your Thursday night. And the weekend's nearly here. We'll see you later.